broke up with me because he was like, I'm never gonna be the guy who posts you on Instagram or who buys you flowers.
I saw this video sometime last week and it really resonated with me. There's so many things that I want to dive into. It's just about every other line. I feel like I have a full blown, just like video that I could make on that alone. But I wanted to take some time for the women who have ever felt like, oh my gosh, I'm never the one, and he ends up with the next one after me. And, maybe you don't know what you're doing wrong, or if you're doing anything wrong and you're just sick of it all. I wanted to make a video that maybe hopefully would give you some hope and reframe how you're thinking and feeling in a way that would make you feel like you're more in control of your dating life and of not feeling like this, because this is not fun to feel.
You should be celebrated for every aspect of your growth and your growing pains.
Okay, I don't have much else to say, but let's just dive right in and see what we see.
Which I thought was stupid. And then now I hear that he has a new girlfriend and they're traveling around Europe together, and he posts her on Instagram. He refused to ever post me. Now a year later he can date someone and like happily be posting her, even though I don't even want him anymore.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to say is just because he's posting somebody on Instagram does not mean that their relationship is good. Also, not being posted on Instagram or other social media platforms does not mean that your relationship is bad. For example, I don't post my husband a lot because the internet is mean and I fiercely protect the people that I love, but there's nothing that I can do about bullies on the internet if they decide to say something about someone that I love. And so I tend to try to keep them to myself because it's so sacred. And I love our love so much. I don't want outside influences to come in and like corrupt anything. So there's that. Being put on Instagram and social media platforms, if that's something that you would prefer, that's fine. I would ask yourself why and what place that's coming from, where the reason that this conversation started has to do with the fact that he's putting somebody on Instagram and he didn't put you on Instagram. And so you automatically make that mean that they have a relationship that you would have potentially even wanted.
It's like the principle of things that makes me salty. And it's just like annoying because like people or society, they'll say like, oh, it's because they don't like you enough. And I just never felt like that was like an adequate explanation.
Sometimes that is the explanation. I'm curious to see what she said next.
It's like the same thing with, it's like where he was like, well, I just didn't like you enough. That's why I treated you so poorly in the end. It's just this stupid way for these men to not take accountability for being a shitty partner. And it's like they always are like of the idea of like, well, one day I'll meet the right person. For the right person, I'm suddenly going to become this like very romantic and amazing partner.
Okay, so there's a couple of sides to this, right? There's the he treated you poorly, and there's also the you allowed him to treat you poorly. And that's the part that I think is hard to hear. It's hard to say as well, but that's what I had to tell myself. Because we get upset at men who treat us A, B, C, X, Y, Z way. Why are we not upset at ourselves for allowing that treatment? Women who have strong boundaries, women who are very confident, women who love themselves, they don't allow anybody treating them that way in their lives. It doesn't matter if it's a man, if it's a friend, if it's a family member. Nobody is going to treat them less than how they want to be treated. Even if that is just, I want you to post me on Instagram. The moment that he expresses or she's clear that he's not going to do what she feels like she deserves, she's out of there. She's gone. Again, I honestly don't feel like the Instagram posting thing is really that reasonable. Again, also depending on the reason. I don't know, because also my husband is happy to post me on Instagram. I don't, so there's ways to think about it, I guess. But in general, if you're confident, you're not going to allow someone to treat you that way. You could argue, if he was a better person, then he wouldn't treat anyone that way. Here's the truth. People are going to treat you any way that you allow. It doesn't matter how sweet or kind they are. Yes, there are assholes out there who are going to just treat you bad because they can get away with it. I'd say they're, in a lot of instances, they're treating you bad. Maybe not even knowing that they're treating you bad. They're just treating you in a way that you wouldn't prefer because they haven't been taught how to love you, and or you tried to teach them how to love you and they chose not to love you that way. They don't want to love you that way. Anybody, even the sweetest person in the world, will take advantage of you if you don't have boundaries in place because they don't know. They might ask for too many favors. They might do something that's normal in their household, but to you is crossing a boundary. If you don't use your voice, if you don't speak up, if you don't speak out, if you don't advocate for yourself, you're always going to feel like somebody is taking advantage of you. You have to use your voice. You have to communicate and let people know, hey, I understand that it wasn't your intention to cross this boundary. I just want to let you know that this is something that personally for me, I don't like that. When you did this, I felt this thing, and I would really prefer it if in the future you could do this instead. That simple. Set that boundary. And for people who do not abide by that, get rid of them. Cut them off. They'll probably cut themselves off if you just assert your boundary.
Person's going to be so perfect that they're going to bring out these characteristics in me that I've never had with anybody else. I hate flowers, but I'm going to like them so much that I'm going to buy them flowers.
Everyone's attracted to people who have standards and boundaries for themselves. Everyone's more attracted to people who don't just let them walk over them, who's not a doormat. I had to realize in my previous relationships that, I don't know, maybe some of them could have been differently if I just spoke up for myself. And if I acted differently in the course of the relationship.
I'm going to be inspired by them flowers because I like them. I like them so much more than I could ever like you. That's what it seems like they're saying, like as if it's my fault. Me getting treated shittily by them is somehow my fault because I wasn't enough.
It's not your fault because you're not enough. It's your responsibility because you didn't believe you were enough. And so you allowed it to continue happening. And this is, again, these situations are so hard, right? Because she's upset, and rightfully so. She has every right to be upset, and her feelings are valid. Dating is a skill, and a lot of people don't have the skill of dating because we were never taught. We think that it's supposed to just happen, but dating is a skill. And if y'all don't think that men are out here testing their limits and their boundaries with women the same way that some women will test men, you are kidding yourself, because men are going to test you to see how far they can push you, to see what they can get away with. Think about it from like the standpoint of evolution. What man wants to be with someone who doesn't have backbone enough to stick up for themselves when that's going to be the person who's responsible for protecting your children? If you don't have backbone enough to protect yourself, how are you going to protect our offspring? That's why men tend to be attracted to bitches, because even though some people may not like her, or people might be like, oh, you don't want to mess with her because if you mess with her, she's going to let you know it. Even though people might know she's not the one to fuck with, I bet you that the future babies are going to be okay. I bet if someone comes for her man's going to appreciate her sticking up for her. And again, that's not to say that that's going to be her job necessarily. But who wants to be with someone who wouldn't even be able to fend their babies? Like, you gotta have a little bit of you gotta bring your inner asshole out to the world, because this world is not a place that's for people who only know how to be sweet and cute and cuddly. You have to know when it's time to get down to business at the same time.
I couldn't make them like me enough. I couldn't elicit strong enough feelings from them for them to treat me right. Like, I couldn't make them treat me right because I wasn't enough. And it pisses me off because logically, that is so stupid. If you are a bully and you're bullying someone, you bullying them has nothing to do with the victim. You're a bully because you're a shitty person, not because that person is somebody deserving of being bullied. I feel like
they're not necessarily deserving of being bullied, but if they knew how to stand up for themselves against the bully, they probably would be less likely to be bullied. Also, we're not children anymore. So it's not like you are locked into spaces with people who are treating you bad unless you're getting like bullied at work. And even then, I mean, it's not that simple, but you could find a new job. You're not a child. You are a grown woman. And you have the power to speak up for yourself. So speak up for yourself.
then use this hypothetical girl as a hypothetical benchmark to excuse why they treat you so shittily. And it's a way for them to not take accountability by just having this hypothetical benchmark that would just be pushed and pushed and pushed back. I feel like if they happen to change and start treating the next person better, it has nothing to do with the other person. It's just because they decided, oh, maybe I should be a little bit better and post my girlfriend on Instagram and buy her flowers, because that seems like a normal thing most people would do in a relationship. But
Depends. If the person truly was a shitty person, they're not going to be doing that for the next person. They're probably just like doing all that in the beginning, to rope somebody in and love bombing them, and then it's going to be different in the future. If the person that you were with was not truly a shitty person, but you just didn't have the words to communicate and advocate for yourself, and so, and y'all didn't work out, whatever, then yeah, there's a possibility that they give the next person everything that they didn't give you. And it is possible to be inspired by someone. Just like women will say, like, I'll cook for the right man. I ain't cooking for everybody. And it's not because you don't cook for yourself on a daily basis. It's not even because, it's extra work to cook for that man, especially if you're already cooking for yourself. It's like you said earlier, it's the principle. Why am I cooking for you if I'm not inspired to cook for you? Why am I buying you flowers and putting you on Instagram if I'm not inspired to do that? So don't discount inspiration. That inspiration, that love is coming from somewhere. And not everyone is meant to love you in that way. That's why you have to vet people. You love the people who love you. You have to look at the people who love you and then vet the people who love you. Don't entertain people who don't like you enough to do the basic stuff you're asking them to do.
Without complaint. I just hate being blamed for someone treating me badly. I hate being blamed for it. If I cheat on someone, it has nothing to do with them. They didn't deserve to be cheated on. I just cheated on them because I'm a shitty person. Like, why are these people, blaming me for them treating me poorly?
Really, realistically, nothing is that black and white. Yes, we could say that. Life is very complex. Black and white thinking is what gets us in trouble a lot of times.
I think I read something else online that really pissed me off. Someone was asking a question: why does my boyfriend get so mad when I express my needs to him? One of the comments that I thought was so true was just it's because they don't really care about you.
Again, that's not always true. That could be true. And also, I'd say both men and women have the capacity to get defensive and get upset when they're met with feedback. I just think it's human nature, and I think a lot of us have not been taught how to receive healthy feedback. And so when we get it, our natural inclination as human beings is to get defensive and to protect ourselves. It takes a lot of practice to get to the point of, ooh, okay, I'm defensive. Ooh, okay, but that's not, okay, let's figure out what do they really mean here. Let me ask more questions, because just because I got defensive doesn't mean that it's coming from a bad place. So I think that's a human nature thing, and that does not mean that someone doesn't care about you. That does mean that they don't have the skills. And if they don't have that skill set, it's up to you to decide whether or not you are okay with that, whether or not you're willing to work with them through that, whether or not they are willing to work. And don't just focus on the potential. Focus on, are they actually doing that? Are you actually seeing progress? But it's perfectly fine if you're like, they don't have that skill set, and so that's it for me. It might be a little bit, I don't know how challenging or not it will be to find that kind of person. Nobody's perfect. So there's probably going to be some skill set that your person is going to have to work on, but it's up to you to decide what skill sets you're okay with having to work on in the context of a relationship, because you're going to have some skill sets you need to work on too.
They want to be in a relationship, but they don't want to do what it takes to nurture the relationship and to have a healthy partnership with you.
How many of us did not grow up seeing a healthy relationship or a healthy partnership? How would we know how to nurture one if we've never seen one nurtured? We all have to learn. But just because someone doesn't know how to do something doesn't mean they don't want to do something. Also, just because they want to do something doesn't mean that they're actually going to do it. So you got to figure out what's what.
They just want the benefits of a relationship. They hate the fact that they have to go out of their way to make you feel loved in order to reap the benefits of a relationship. They resent the fact that they can't just exist and be loved and be taken care of without doing anything for their partner.
I will say that there's probably a lot more men out there who want to please their partner than you think. The challenge is that is one, are you picking that kind of man? And two, are you communicating with that kind of man? Because he can't read your mind. He can't read your brain.
They resent the fact they have to be romantic. They just want to put in no effort and just like be accepted and loved as they are without giving me anything. They got pissed I had needs and that they couldn't just exist and treat me shittily. They got mad that like I didn't want to accept that and that I dared to ask more of them.
That I dared to ask more of them. So what were you asking of them initially? If you dared to ask more of them, then what were you asking of them initially? I know something that I used to do is I would like someone or be interested in someone, and so I tried to put on like my best, like, ooh, my best, like, whatever face and be okay with everything. And, ooh, that thing that they said, it hurt my feelings. I didn't like it, but I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen, or it's not a big deal, or, ooh, that thing that they said or did, ooh, that wasn't very kind. But I mean, I understand why, they grew up this way. This was their upbringing. And so, it's logical that they would have that response. And I wouldn't be bringing up all of these issues. I wouldn't bring up all of these things. I would wait and wait and wait until maybe I feel more comfortable in the relationship or until it's just overflowing and I'm about to explode. And that's when I would bring it up. That's when I would bring up the issues. That's when I would start expecting more and raising my standards. And I'm sure that the people I was dating, they were like, well, where did this come from? Because we've been fine our whole relationship, and now you're just throwing this on me. You have to give people the option to choose at the beginning if that's what they want to do. And you got to give yourself the option to see whether or not they're going to do it.
In regards to my Chicago ex starting to post his new girlfriend on Instagram, I feel like it's not a matter of, oh, he likes me more. I feel like it's more of like, he realized that I was asking for basic things. And so in his next relationship, he decided maybe I should become a better partner in the future because maybe I wasn't a good partner in the past. Instead of changing for me, instead of becoming a better partner for me, they chose to break up with me. They couldn't let go of their ego. If they change for me, they're giving me too much power. So they'll change in the next relationship as a way to save face. They'll take that feedback and move to the next relationship. It just pisses me off and it makes me want to die alone. I feel like this is all so jaded, but like this is just how I really feel about these men. And I hate them. And I hate myself for ever liking them and ever even having experienced this.
Don't hate yourself. I feel like everybody has these experiences and that's okay. I just really hope that you learn from it and maybe avoid an experience like this again in the future. That's not to say that you'd be able to avoid all heartbreak, but maybe you could avoid this kind of heartbreak the next time in your next dating experience. And maybe more so what you need to look for, pay attention to. What do you need to do a little bit differently? What questions do you need to ask? What do you need to see from a person before you commit to them to put you at ease and help you to know that you're likely not going to experience this again?
I almost hate myself for putting myself in this position, even though I didn't know they were like this in the beginning. They act so great in the beginning. You only see the true colors 4 months later. How could...
Was he posting you on Instagram in the beginning and giving you flowers in the beginning? I think we got to be honest with ourselves sometimes because sometimes they're exactly who they were in the beginning. We weren't asking as much of them in the beginning. We were just being people pleasers and bending over backwards to try to make them like us because some part of us felt like we weren't likable. And so we were tap dancing, trying to make them see and believe that we're likable. And we were so busy tap dancing that we weren't paying attention to if we liked them. And that's where we get into trouble.
I ever anticipate that. I couldn't. It feels like I blame myself for being treated poorly, and on top of that, these men are blaming me for them treating me poorly. So it's the whole thing just feels like my fault. It's when they end things with me, they always say all this like bullshit that's just like, oh, like, I think the world of you. You've changed me so much. I think the world of you. You've taught me so many things. There's so many things I admire about you. I think you're an amazing person. They always say stupid shit like that. Like,
I can remember myself crying, saying the same thing, and not just about men that I dated, but also people like my father or, like family members. Like I can recall crying, saying, these men always say, I'm so great. Oh my God, you make a great wife. Oh my gosh, like you deserve the best, this, that, and the third. But then they mistreat me, and I don't understand. And I was so upset because I was just like, you're all lying. Like, you're all bullshitting me. I don't understand, because if I'm so good and I'm so great, like you're saying that I am, then why do you treat me this way? And the answer that I got was, well, I didn't actually literally ask them, but the answer that I got, if you know what I mean, was because you allow them to. And while I keep saying this, and part of the reason she's so upset in the video is because people keep saying similar things. I wish people would understand, though, is that if you take responsibility for the things that happen in your life, including your dating life when it doesn't go well, you're taking your power back. If you say, you know what, I chose poorly, and I actually think I could choose better next time, and now I have even more information about what I need to do in order to choose a more healthy partner for myself. If you could have that mindset instead of having the woe is me mindset, I guarantee you your next relationship will be better than your last. And I guarantee that you will feel more confident going into dating, because you will believe that you have the tools that it takes to vet, instead of believing that dating and relationships is something that they just happen to you. You will believe and understand that it's something that you choose for yourself. Just because someone likes you doesn't mean that you have to date them. Just because someone likes you doesn't mean you have to let them in your space. Just because someone likes you does not mean you have to like them back. If they like you, that's cool. That's step one. That's, I guess, that you think you like me. Step two is for me to figure out if I like you. Are you going to treat me the way that I deserve to be treated? Do you pursue me the way that I want to be pursued? Do you pay attention to me? Do I believe you would make a good father to my children? Would you show up for them? Would you keep your word to them? Would you be present in their lives? Would you love them? Give the affection that they deserve? What kind of man are you? What's your character? What's your heart? That's the things that you get into. It's not just goo goo gaga, I like you and you look good and I'm attracted to you. You gotta think deeper. And you have the capability to think deeper. It's not that you're not enough. It's just that you lack the skill sets to vet and find the person who sees and knows and understands that you're enough. It's not that you're not enough. It's that you don't believe that you're enough. You don't believe that you deserve more. So you allow people in your space that share the same belief that you do. And you can't find a love that's greater than the love that you give yourself. You can't find someone that's going to love you greater than you love yourself. Because however much you love yourself, that's how much you're going to require someone else to love you. If the standards for how you love yourself are low, if you talk bad about yourself, if you don't take yourself out, if you don't treat yourself special and nice, no one else is going to do that, because you're not going to require it, because clearly, because you're not doing it for yourself, you don't think you deserve it already.
I don't even know if they mean, but it stings because they say that, and yet they treat me so poorly. How can you even mean what you say when your actions are saying something completely different? How can you say that you care for me when you clearly do not care for me at all? Be fucking for real here. Like,
people can love you and not love you well. People can care for you but not care for you well. They can love you to the max of their ability at that point in time. That doesn't mean that they are automatically loving you how much you deserve to be loved. And I think it's important to differentiate those two.
be for real, like, be honest. Admit that you don't care about me. Don't say that you think all these positive things about me and yet decide that I'm not good enough, or like that I'm not what you want. Like, don't do this like weird gaslighty like back and forth thing. Just be straight. Because to me, if I really thought the world of somebody, even if they weren't a romantic match for me, I would never treat them so disrespectfully, especially on their birthday. And I would never blame my bad behavior on them. I would take accountability. I would be like, you know what? I didn't treat you right in the end because I valued what makes me feel comfortable more than your needs, because I cared more about how I felt than I cared about you. That's the truth. These people just can't be honest. It's because they're so stupid and not.
You should care more about yourself than you care about someone else. That's how I feel. I feel like you need to care for yourself. You need to love yourself first, and then you love others from the overflow. And I think that a lot of women love from a place of lack and not from a place of overflow. When you learn how to love from that place of overflow, the love that you give is going to also be a lot more genuine, a lot more healthy, and you're going to feel full instead of depleted.
Self-aware that they don't even realize this. Like, that's, even if I explain this to them, I don't even know if they would understand because they're so stupid. I'm sick of being like this lesson for them to change and be better. I'm sick of being this casualty in their journey to be a better partner. Like, that's all I am, really. I'm just like a casualty. It's like I get treated like this so some other girl in the future can be treated better. When in fact, I just want to be the one who is treated well. Like, it doesn't feel fair. Like, I want to be treated the way that I deserve.
Yeah, I mean, them's the breaks, I guess. I feel for her because being in that place is it's not fun. It's not a fun feeling. I think that it is a natural part in this journey to find love, unfortunately. And what I can say is the more quickly you learn how to navigate through that, and the more quickly you take away the lessons that you're meant to take away, the more quickly you can get to your person or get to your joy in general, even if it doesn't include another person. Maybe you'll find that it just includes you. Maybe it includes friends. Maybe it includes friends, family. But I hope that everyone understands, that people understand that I'm not trying to be hard on her. I'm not trying to blame her because it's not her fault that she's getting treated that kind of way. It is, though, her responsibility to make sure that she protects herself and that she does not allow people to treat her badly, and that she chooses who's in her life strategically so that she has a less likely chance of experiencing this. So I don't know. I hope this was helpful. I will be continuing to do some different little things like this and have different conversations. And on Fridays, there will be opportunities for Sister Circle girl chats. So feel free to come, hop on, and talk with us. I hope to see you there. Bye.
Watch the next video or not. It's up to you. Either way, I'm glad I got to spend this time with you.